3 years ago, Elena Hart saved a stranger in the rain, then forgot him by morning. On the way home from a charity dinner, she saw a young delivery rider beside a wrecked motorcycle under a broken streetlight. Blood ran down his wrist while luxury cars sprayed dirty water over his uniform. Elena told her driver to stop. She did not ask his name. She paid for repairs, called an ambulance, and wrote one sentence on the back of her business card. Don't let one bad day decide your whole life. The rider's name was Min. He kept that card for 3 years through rain, hunger, and nights sleeping on his motorcycle. The ink faded, the edges softened, but the sentence stayed. 3 years later, Elena was the one trapped inside a bad day. At Hartwell Digital Bank's emergency board meeting, 12 directors stared at her like the verdict had already been signed. A money laundering scandal had exploded before sunrise.
I am prepared to address this.
Regulators were coming. The press was downstairs. Every document pointed to Elena, except Elena had signed none of them. Step down tonight, the chairman said, sliding a resignation letter across the table. Or we let them take you in handcuffs. Then the door opened. There's a courier here, a security guard said. He says Miss Hart needs this before she signs anything. A delivery driver walked in, rain dripping from his jacket, an old business card in one hand and a flash drive in the other. No one recognized him, not even Elena, until he placed the faded card beside the resignation letter. 3 years ago, Min said, you told me not to let one bad day decide my life. He looked at the flash drive. So, I'm not letting this one decide yours. Then he turned to the frozen screen behind her. Your bank isn't laundering money because of bad signatures. It's laundering money because someone changed the logs. No one in the boardroom spoke. Rain slid down the glass wall behind Elena Hart, blurring the city below into silver lines and flashing police lights. 47 floors beneath them, reporters were already gathering at the entrance of Hartwell Digital Bank. They did not know everything yet, but they knew enough. $2.7 billion frozen, regulators on the way, and the bank's founder trapped inside her own building. Richard Bale, chairman of the board, recovered first. Who let him in? The security guard shifted uncomfortably. He said it was urgent. Richard looked Min up and down the wet jacket, the cheap helmet under one arm, the delivery bag still hanging from his shoulder. This is not a food court. A few directors gave nervous laughs. Min did not react. He only looked at the screen behind Elena, where columns of transaction IDs, approval stamps, and risk clearance notes glowed in cold blue light. Victor Lane, Hartwell's chief security officer, stepped beside the screen. Elena, he said, calm and precise, we cannot allow an unidentified courier to interfere with a regulatory emergency. The approvals came through your executive credential chair. We have contained the breach. The board needs your resignation before the regulators arrive. Elena did not answer him. She was staring at the old business card on the table. Her card, her handwriting, a memory came back in pieces. A broken motorcycle, blood on a wrist.
I didn't mean to.
A young man trying to apologize while sitting in the rain.
Can't be.
Then Richard pushed the resignation letter closer. Sign it, he said. The institution survives if you step away. Min's eyes moved from the letter to the frozen audit display. That is what they want. Victor gave a thin smile. And who are they? The person who made those logs look clean enough for lawyers, Min said, but not clean enough for someone who knows where systems usually bleed. The room stiffened. Elena looked at him. Explain. Victor started to object, but Elena raised one hand. Min stepped closer to the screen. Security moved with him, then stopped when Elena gave the smallest shake of her head. He pointed to the final column of the transaction chain. These approvals are arranged to make it look like Miss Hart's credentials cleared the batches before the risk engine flagged them. But the timing is wrong. Victor folded his arms. That is standard asynchronous processing. No, Min said. Not like
there
this.
It is.
He tapped 3 separate rows. 17 seconds, 17 seconds, 17
What
seconds.
Is that?
The numbers were small,
Wait.
almost invisible. But once he said them, everyone could see them. Real systems drift, Min continued. Traffic changes, queue timing changes, human approval changes. Even bad automation has noise. This delay is exact. That means the authorization layer and the execution log were not recorded from the same live event. One was rewritten to match the other. At the far end of the table, Nora Chen, a junior compliance analyst, lifted her eyes too quickly. Victor noticed. So did Min. Elena turned to her. Nora? Nora swallowed. I would need the raw export to confirm. Victor's voice sharpened. Nora has been awake for 19 hours. We are not turning exhaustion into testimony. Min ignored him and pointed to another line. There is also an active override under Daniel Reese. Who is that? Nora went pale. Elena looked from her to Victor. Who is Daniel Reese? Victor answered first. A former infrastructure employee.
Is valid.
His user ID appears in archived
Impossible!
migration records. He died 2 years ago, Nora
He's
whispered.
dead.
The boardroom went still again. Min kept his finger near the user ID. Then why is a dead employee's access key clearing risk overrides this morning? Victor stepped
That
forward,
key is an
his face
archived
still
reference,
composed, but his
meaningless.
eyes colder now.
It's
It is
not
an archived
archived,
credential
and it
reference.
works.
Large systems retain
Then
old
prove
names
it.
all the time. If you had formal
trust
training
your
in
figures
banking
are as
infrastructure,
reliable
you would
as
know
your
that.
timeliness.
The insult landed exactly where he wanted it to. Several directors shifted back in their chairs, relieved to have a professional explanation. But Min did not step away. I know the difference between an archived credential and an active key. Victor held his gaze. And where did you learn that? For the first time, Min looked directly at him. Something passed between them that Elena could not name. Recognition, anger, an old wound reopening without sound. Min did not answer. Instead,
The audit is a
he turned back to
smokescreen.
Elena. Your
This
bank
attack
is not
came from
being attacked from
inside.
the outside.
I need proof.
Someone inside your security chain is using
There will
old
be
access
proof.
routes to push transactions just under the risk threshold. Then they are rewriting the logs, so the approvals point to you. Richard stood. This is insane. Elena, if you entertain this, you look desperate. Victor nodded. Regulators will not respect a CEO taking conspiracy theories from a delivery driver. Min gave a tired half smile. People usually say conspiracy theory right before they check the part they were told not to check. Nora's fingers tightened around her tablet.
What is it?
Elena
You have
saw
to
it.
tell me.
Nora,
I
she said
can't.
slowly.
They're
Were
watching.
you told not to
Who
check
is
Daniel
watching?
Reese?
Everyone.
Nora looked at Victor. That was enough. Victor began. Elena, I strongly advise. No. Elena cut in. She looked at the resignation letter, then at the business card, then at Min. 3 minutes earlier, the board had given her two choices: resign quietly or be destroyed publicly. Now a rain-soaked courier had offered her a third. Unverified, dangerous, maybe impossible, but still a third. Elena turned to the guard. Do not remove him. Richard stared at her. You cannot be serious. Elena picked up the resignation letter and folded it once, slowly, without signing. Give him 5 minutes. Victor's expression returned to calm. But as he stepped back, his hand closed around the silver pen in his pocket so tightly that the metal clip bent under his thumb. And Min saw it. They did not give Min a chair at first. Elena moved the meeting out of the glass boardroom and into a smaller crisis operations room behind the executive floor. There was no view of the city here. Only 6 wall screens, 2 locked terminals, a printer running hot, and a digital clock counting down to the regulator's arrival. 42 minutes. Victor entered with Richard, Nora, and 2 bank attorneys. Min came last, still holding his helmet. Security stayed outside the door, close enough to remind everyone that he was not exactly trusted. Elena placed the flash drive on the table but did not plug it in. No live system access, she said. Min nodded. Good. Richard frowned. Good? If the system is compromised, Min said, touching it only gives the person inside another thing to blame me for. One attorney stopped writing for half a second. Victor gave a calm smile. Convenient. You make accusations but avoid direct verification. Print the audit screenshots, Min said. Transaction batches, risk flags, approval times, override history. I don't need control of your system. I need the sequence. Elena looked at Nora. Do it. Nora hesitated, then entered her credentials. The printer began coughing out warm pages. Min did not touch the terminal. He stood beside the table and arranged the sheets by time, not value or client name. Richard watched with open impatience. What exactly are we looking at? Rhythm, Min said. This is banking, not music. Money has rhythm when someone is trying to hide it. He pulled 4 pages closer and tapped the approval times. These batches repeat every 43 minutes. Nora leaned in before she could stop herself. Min pointed to the first amount, 4,980,000. Then the second, 4,975,000. Then the third, 4,988,000. Elena understood before anyone explained it. They are staying under 5 million. Nora nodded. 5 million triggers enhanced review for this class of cross-border movement. Victor cut in. Threshold behavior is public regulatory knowledge. Any laundering operation would know that. Not this precisely, Min said. They are not just staying under the threshold. They are staying under it after the model adjusts for account age, transfer frequency, and recipient history. Nora's face changed. Elena saw it. What does that mean? Nora glanced at Victor. It means whoever created the batches knew how our risk model would score them before the model scored them. Victor's voice stayed even. Or they tested the system until they found the limits. Min shook his head. Testing leaves failed attempts. Where are they? Nora searched the pages. There were none. Only clean approvals. Too clean. Until that morning, the scandal had been terrible but simple. Someone used Elena's executive credential chain to approve dirty money. That version could still be contained if the board sacrificed her quickly. But this was not a stolen password. This was someone using Hartwell from the inside. Show me the override history, Min said. Nora printed another stack. Victor stepped closer. This is no longer a 5-minute review. Elena looked at the clock. 34 minutes. Then make it useful. The new pages carried internal codes. Risk hold, auto clear, manual bridge, green ping. Min stopped at the last phrase. What is green ping? Nora answered softly. A compliance bot. It reduces false positives between the old transaction layer and the newer risk engine. Who authorized it? Victor answered before Nora could. I did. 6 months ago. The new model was freezing legitimate commercial accounts. Green ping kept harmless clients from being punished. Min turned one page sideways. It is not protecting harmless clients here. It is clearing suspicious batches before the risk engine escalates them. Victor sighed. You are oversimplifying complex automation. No, someone reversed its purpose. A tool built to protect clean accounts is now protecting dirty ones. Elena looked at Nora. Can that be done? Nora's voice dropped. Only if someone had permission to bridge the legacy admin layer. The phrase made Min pause. Legacy admin layer? Victor answered too quickly. A temporary migration bridge, standard architecture. Min looked down at the override path. No bridge is temporary, if dirty money walks across it every 43 minutes. Richard rubbed his forehead. This is catastrophic. No, Min said. Catastrophic is calling this a signature breach and leaving the bridge open. Elena stared at the pages. Approval chains. Override codes. Risk scores that never rose high enough to scream. A dead employee's access key. A bot clearing what it should have caught. A bridge between old and new systems. And her name placed neatly at the end of it. How long has this been happening? She asked. Nora searched the export. Victor said, We do not have time for a historical review. Min answered first. At least 6 months. Elena turned to him. How do you know? He pointed to a file reference in the corner of the override report. Project Lantern. Legacy filter adaptation. The words were small, almost buried among the codes. But Min went still. Elena noticed because everything about him had been controlled until then. His hands had moved from page to page without waste. His eyes had scanned the data without panic. Now he seemed to forget the room existed. Victor noticed too. And this time, his calm smile did not return quickly enough. Elena looked from one man to the other. Min, she said, what is Project Lantern? For a moment, only the printer fan hummed. Then, Min touched the edge of the page, careful not to touch the words. That project should not exist inside your bank. Nora whispered. Why? Min looked at the file label. Because I built it 3 years ago. No one moved. Elena felt the scandal shift shape again. First, it had been a forged signature, then altered logs, then an inside bridge. Now it had a name from Min's past sitting inside Hartwell's system like a buried bone. Victor stepped forward. Elena, he said, you need to be very careful now. Min finally looked up. Not at Elena. At Victor. I agree, he said. She does. Elena did not ask Min again what Project Lantern meant. Not yet. The look on his face had already told her the answer would not be simple, and simple answers were the only kind she had time for. Regulators were less than 30 minutes away. The board wanted her removed. The press was downstairs. And somewhere inside Hartwell's own system, Someone had placed her name at the end of dirty money. She turned to Nora. Can we isolate one batch? Nora nodded. Yes. If we use the printed export. Victor's eyes moved between them. Elena, this is reckless. You are letting an outsider shape the bank's response before council reviews the material. No, Elena said. I am letting him prove one thing. She looked at Min. Pick a suspicious batch. Show me something my people can verify without giving you system access. Min nodded once. I need 3 things. Lobby entry records from the last hour, elevator access timestamps for this floor, and the delivery receipt from the order that brought me here. Richard stared at him. You want to audit a bank with a food receipt? No, Min said. I want a clock your bank did not control. Nora understood first. External timestamp anchoring. Elena turned to the attorney beside her. Get building operations. Victor stepped in. Building logs are not part of transaction infrastructure. That is the point, Min said. If the internal logs were rewritten, I need something outside the rewritten system. Minutes later, building operations sent a narrow report. Nora printed it. The page listed front entrance scans, elevator calls, floor arrivals, and security badge pings. Min placed the delivery receipt beside the transaction export. The receipt showed the order was accepted at 8:11 a.m., scanned at the lobby desk at 8:27, and released to the executive elevator at 8:29. The elevator record showed Min reached the 47th floor at 8:31. He slid one suspicious transaction page beneath it. This batch was marked as approved at 8:31 and 12 seconds. Victor spread his hands. That proves nothing. Thousands of internal events occur every minute. Min tapped the risk flag column. The risk engine flagged the batch at 8:31 and 29 seconds, but the approval record claims Miss Hart's credential chain cleared it at 8:31 and 12 seconds. Richard leaned forward. So the clearance appears to happen before the risk flag, Min said. That is why it looks legitimate, but the elevator access log shows the internal admin spike connected to this batch began at 8:30 and 55 seconds. 17 seconds before the approval record. Nora checked the pages. He is right. Victor's voice stayed smooth. Correlation is not proof. No, Min said, but the same mismatch appears on every batch I checked. The official log says approval came first. The independent building log shows admin activity started before the official approval existed. Elena stared at the numbers. For the first time, the scandal had a seam. Min took another printed page and circled a small user reference. Daniel Reese appears again. Nora whispered, that should not be possible. Maybe it is a ghost record, Victor said. Ghost records do not start sessions. Min pointed to the session type beside Reese's ID, physical workstation reauth. Elena caught Nora's expression. Meaning? Nora answered slowly. The key was not used by a remote script. Someone reactivated it from a physical terminal. Richard turned to Victor. Could that happen by accident? Victor did not answer him. He looked at Min. You know a great deal for someone who delivers lunch. Min held his gaze. I have delivered to enough locked doors to know people hide behind them. Elena noticed the evasion. She also noticed Victor's reaction. The two men were not strangers to the same kind of knowledge. There was a shape between them, still invisible, but present. The attorney nearest Elena cleared his throat. If the Reese key was physically reauthorized, we can request workstation location from internal security. Victor turned sharply. Not without chain of custody protocol. Elena looked at him. Then start it. Elena, if we open an internal security trace before regulators arrive, we create discoverable material we cannot control. Min's eyes flicked to her. There it was again. The line she had to cross. Protect the bank first, or protect the truth first. Elena felt Richard watching her, waiting for fear to pull her back. Start the protocol, she said. Nora entered the request. The system took 12 seconds to respond. Then the printer produced a single line. Rees, Daniel, Reauth source. Sec. 17, local terminal. Nora's voice was barely audible. Sec. 17 is not a server, Elena asked. What is it? A workstation, Nora said. Inside the security department. The room turned toward Victor. He did not flinch. We have dozens of terminals. Old labels remain in rotation. This is why amateurs should not interpret infrastructure data. Min looked at the printed line. Then let us see who used Sec. 17. Victor smiled again, but this time it was smaller. That requires elevated security authorization. Elena said, "You have it." "I do," Victor replied. "And I am telling you that opening that trace during an active regulatory event could contaminate our response." Min gave a soft, humorless laugh. Victor looked at him. "Something amusing?" "No," Min said. "Just familiar." Elena turned to him. "What is familiar?" Min's fingers brushed the edge of the Project Lantern page, still lying on the table. For 1 second, he seemed about to answer. Then he stopped himself. "Someone builds a locked room," he said, "then tells everyone the truth is unsafe because the door is locked." Victor's jaw tightened. Nora looked from Min to Victor, and something in her fear changed. It did not disappear, but it gained direction. Elena picked up the page with the SEC, 1-7 line. A food receipt had not solved the scandal. A lobby scan had not cleared her name. But together, they had created a verifiable crack in the official story. Elena set the page down in front of Richard. This is no longer a resignation meeting. Before Richard could answer, the crisis room phone rang. Nora answered, listened, and went pale again. "Regulators are in the lobby." The digital clock still showed 21 minutes. Elena looked up. "They are early." Victor adjusted his cuff. "Or," he said, "someone told them we were destroying time-sensitive evidence." Every eye turned to Min. And for the first time since he had entered Hartwell, Min understood that proving one truth had only made him easier to frame. The regulators were not supposed to arrive for another 21 minutes. Victor made sure everyone heard that. "They are early because someone tipped them off," he said, looking at Min without saying his name. Richard turned on Elena. "This is exactly what I warned you about. We brought an outsider into a live regulatory event, and now the optics are poisonous." Elena did not defend Min immediately. That silence struck him harder than Richard's accusation. She was still reading the SEC, 1-7 printout, still measuring risk the way CEOs measured it not by pain, but by exposure. Min had seen that look before. A powerful room deciding whether truth was useful enough to protect. Nora whispered, "The regulators are waiting in the North Conference suite." Elena folded the printout once and handed it to her attorney. "Take Richard. Give them the incident summary. Do not mention Min yet." Richard's eyes widened. "You are hiding him?" "I am preventing a witness from being turned into a distraction before I understand what he witnessed." Victor stepped closer. "Then ask him what Project Lantern is." Min looked at him. Victor's voice was calm, but there was a blade under it. "Since he claims to have built something inside our bank." Elena turned to Min. "Did you?" Min almost said no. Not because it was false, but because the truth had destroyed him once already. His phone vibrated before he answered. The clinic number flashed across the cracked screen. He stepped back. "It's my mother." Elena's expression shifted, but she nodded. Min answered in the corner of the room, one hand covering his other ear against the printer hum. His mother's voice was weak but clear. "Khan, are you working?" "Yes, Ma." "You sound like you are standing in trouble." Despite everything, Min almost smiled. "I am standing near it." Grace Tran breathed softly through the line. Behind her, he heard the slow rhythm of the dialysis machine. "Do not let gratitude become a leash," she said. Min closed his eyes. She had seen the card that morning. She had seen him place it in his wallet with the carefulness people reserved for photographs of the dead. "I know," he said. "No," Grace replied. "You remember. That is different." The call ended after she told him not to skip dinner, as if dinner were still a normal thing waiting somewhere in the world. When Min turned back, Elena was watching him with less certainty than before. "Project Lantern," she said. "Tell me." Min looked at the page on the table. 3 years collapsed into one breath. He saw a university lab lit by vending machine glow at 2 in the morning. Rows of cheap monitors, empty noodle cups, his own hands flying over a keyboard while his scholarship badge swung from his neck. Project Lantern had started as a student model, nothing more. A fraud detection tool designed to catch laundering patterns that did not look like laundering. Most systems searched for large transfers, suspicious names, or obvious shell accounts. Min's model searched for hesitation, tiny delays between authorization, execution, and risk review. The places where a system paused because a human hand had touched what automation was supposed to handle. His professor had loved it. Professor Victor Lane. Back then, Victor had worn softer jackets and smiled more often. He called Min the kind of student institutions pretend they discover, after they have already tried to ignore him. He brought Min coffee during late lab nights. He promised introductions to banks, grants, and research partners. Then, 1 week before Min's final presentation, the accusation appeared. Code theft. Unauthorized access. A signed report from Victor Lane stating that Min had copied proprietary research from a private financial security firm. Min had tried to fight it. He requested server logs. The university said they were sealed. He asked classmates to speak. They were warned not to damage their own futures. His scholarship was suspended within 48 hours. His housing disappeared by Monday. By Friday, his mother had sold her wedding bracelet to pay for a motel room. The project was mine, Min said at last. A student prototype. It never should have reached Hartwell. Elena's face had gone still. Victor was your professor? Min looked at the man across the room. He was my mentor. Victor gave a small, disappointed sigh. This is tragic, but not surprising. Elena, disgraced students often rewrite their failures as conspiracies. Min did not raise his voice. You filed the report before the university's server review was finished. Victor's eyes narrowed. You told them I accessed a private repository on March 16th, Min continued. But the repository snapshot used against me was created at 2:14 a.m. I was in the county hospital with my mother until sunrise. I had the discharge papers. No one cared. Elena looked at him sharply. Why did you not sue? Min laughed once, without humor. With what money? Against a professor, a university, and a private security firm I could not even name? The room went quiet. Not sympathetic, not yet, but quieter. Nora looked down at the Project Lantern label. If his model is inside our system, then someone brought stolen code into Hartwell, Min said. Victor stepped toward the door. Or he brought it in today on that flash drive. There it was. The first clean shape of the trap. Elena's eyes moved to the drive on the table. Min saw the doubt before she spoke. He did not blame her. That was the worst part. Powerful people were trained to call doubt wisdom when it protected them. Elena asked, Can you prove Project Lantern existed before today? Min reached into his jacket and pulled out his wallet. Not the business card this time, but a folded clinic receipt, softened at the creases. My mother's hospital discharge record, he said. March 16th, the night Victor said I stole the code. Victor's smile vanished. Min placed the receipt beside the Project Lantern page. Start there, he said, before you decide which thief is standing in this room. Elena gave Min a room, not trust. The read-only audit room sat 2 floors below the executive suite, behind a glass door that required 2 badges and a lawyer's approval to open. Every screen was mirrored. Every keystroke was logged. Even the printer stamped each page with the user's name, time, and reason for access. Min noticed all of it. Elena noticed him noticing. You wanted records outside the compromised trail, she said. This is as far as I can go without turning the bank into a crime scene before regulators begin. So, I can see the truth, Min said, as long as I do not get too close to it. Elena did not apologize. Find me something that survives a courtroom. Nora sat at the terminal. Min stood beside her, reading from the mirrored screen while she controlled the mouse. Victor stayed outside the glass with one attorney, speaking quietly into his phone. Nora opened the emergency compliance freeze report. This was generated at 6:12 a.m., she said, right after the first regulator notice. Filter by destination entity, Min said. Rows of vendors appeared. Some were ordinary clients. Others looked ordinary in the way fake things were designed to look ordinary. Alder Bridge Consulting, Northline Data Services, Vellum Trade Solutions, Cedar Harbor Analytics. Min pointed to the last 3. Open ownership notes. Nora clicked. Different addresses, different account officers, different business descriptions. But the payment memos carried the same formatting error. 2 spaces after the second comma in every cross-border beneficiary line. Nora leaned closer. That is not random. No, Min said. It is a template. Elena entered behind them. A template for what? Shell vendors, Min said. Different skins, same skeleton. Nora pulled the deeper file, then froze. What? Elena asked. These vendors received staged payments, then moved the money into a fund called North River Recovery. Elena knew the name. Her face changed before she controlled it. Min saw it. You know them. They approached us last month, Elena said. After our stock dipped, Nora looked up. If Hartwell collapses under investigation, they could buy distressed assets for a fraction of the value. Min studied the vendor map. So the laundering does two things. It moves money, and it weakens the bank for whoever is waiting to buy the wreckage. Victor opened the glass door. "We need to pause this review," he said. "Regulators are asking why internal personnel are generating new reports after notice." Elena turned. "We are preserving evidence. You are creating a defense narrative through a man with a personal grievance." Min did not answer. Nora did. "We found shell vendors tied to North River Recovery." Victor glanced at her. The look was brief, but Nora lowered her eyes. "Speculation," Victor said. "Vendor similarity is not proof." "Then the hash might be," Min said. Victor looked at him. Min pointed at a column in the override report. Most entries were long strings of letters and numbers, meaningless unless someone knew what to compare. "Open the override hash detail." Nora hesitated. Elena said, "Open it." Dense text filled the screen. Min read quickly, then stopped at a fragment near the bottom. "Lantern before dawn." The words were buried inside a diagnostic comment, too small for executives or lawyers scanning summaries, but not too small for the person who had written them. Nora whispered, "What is that?" Min's throat tightened. Years ago, his mother used to leave for cleaning shifts before sunrise. When he was small, she would turn on the kitchen light and say, "Lantern before dawn, Khan. Someone has to believe morning is coming." He had hidden the phrase inside Project Lantern because no one else would understand it. Victor had stolen the code, but he had never understood the signature. Elena read Min's face. "That phrase is yours." Min nodded. Nora checked the metadata. The module was compiled 18 months ago. Elena looked at Victor. "Min was delivering food 18 months ago." Victor answered too quickly. "Disgraced engineers do not stop being engineers because they change jobs." The cruelty landed cleanly. Min felt it, but kept his eyes on the screen. Elena asked, "Can this prove authorship?" "Not alone," Min said, "but it proves whoever used Project Lantern copied enough to carry my fingerprint with it." Nora printed the hash detail. Victor watched the page come out. Something changed in his face. Not panic. Calculation. Elena picked up the page. "If we give this to regulators, we admit our compliance layer contains stolen code, shell vendor exposure, and an internal override path we failed to detect." "Yes," Min said. "And if we hide it? Then Victor's version becomes the official version before lunch." Victor stepped closer. "My version is evidence-based." Min turned to him. "Your evidence keeps asking everyone not to look at it too closely." Outside the glass, a bank attorney waved urgently. Regulators were moving upstairs. Richard wanted Elena in the North Conference Suite. The board wanted a controlled statement. Elena looked at the hash page, then at the shell vendor map. She needed Min now. That made him useful. It did not make him safe. "Print everything," she told Nora. "Read-only copies. Chain of custody stamps. No deletions. No summaries." Nora began printing. Then Elena turned to Min. "You will not speak to regulators yet." Min looked at her. "Why?" "Because the moment you do, Victor will make this about your past instead of the bank's present." "And you think hiding me protects the truth?" "I think controlling the sequence gives the truth a chance to survive." Min stepped back. "There it is again." Elena's jaw tightened. "What?" "Power calling control a form of care." For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Nora's printer stopped. On the final page, below the shell vendor map, one more destination appeared. North River Recovery was not the end of the chain. It had sent advisory payments to a private security consultancy registered under a name Elena did not recognize. Ming did. Lane Strategic Risk. Lane Strategic Risk changed the room. It was only a company name printed at the bottom of a payment chain, but every eye moved toward Victor. For half a second, his face carried no expression. Then the mask returned. "That entity has no operational relationship with Hartwell," he said. Elena held the page. "It has advisory payments from a fund connected to shell vendors inside our laundering trail. And if legal counsel had managed the sequence," Victor replied, "we would know whether that means anything before a delivery driver turns it into theater." There it was. Not a denial. A repositioning. Victor was no longer trying to defeat the evidence first. He was trying to reduce the person holding it. Richard entered with 2 directors and a senior attorney carrying a tablet. "Elena," Richard said, Regulators are asking who accessed internal reports after notice. We also have a new problem. He looked at Min as if the problem were standing in wet shoes. Victor did not raise his voice. I advise the board that Mr. Tran has no verified standing in banking, cybersecurity, or compliance. He has been present during evidence generation. He has made allegations against a senior officer, and he has a personal history with me that he did not disclose until pressed. Min looked at Elena. She did not look away, but she did not defend him quickly either. That pause gave Victor permission to continue. Richard turned to Min. "What are your credentials?" Nora's hands went still over the keyboard. Min answered plainly. "I do not have current credentials." "A degree?" "No." "Professional license?" "No." "Employment in financial security?" "Not anymore." One director gave a bitter laugh. "Then why are we treating him like an expert?" Victor stepped closer to the glass. "Because desperation makes intelligent people sentimental." The words were meant for Elena. Her jaw tightened, but she said only, "He identified inconsistencies your department missed." "Or created a narrative around normal system noise," Victor said. "That is what untrained people do when they do not understand scale." Min had heard polished men speak like this before. Not angry, not loud, clean enough to make cruelty sound like procedure. "I did not ask you to trust my resume," Min said. "I asked you to check your own records." Victor smiled. "And now we have." The attorney sent a file to the audit room screen. A university disciplinary report appeared. Min's name stood at the top. Academic misconduct review. Unauthorized code access and theft of proprietary material. Nora inhaled softly. Richard looked at Elena. "You knew about this?" Elena said nothing. She had known pieces. Not the full report. Not the way official formatting could make a ruined life look administrative. Victor spoke gently now, which was worse. 3 years ago, Mr. Tran was removed from a university research program after accessing restricted material connected to private financial security development. His scholarship was revoked. His claims were reviewed and rejected. "That report was filed before the server review finished," Min said. Victor tilted his head. "That is your claim. I was in the hospital with my mother when you said I accessed the repository. Your receipt proves you visited a clinic," Victor said. "It does not prove you did not plan a theft, share credentials, or use automation." Richard turned to Elena. "This is exactly why he cannot be involved." Then came the second file. A debt summary. Grace Tran's medical balance. Dialysis invoices. Late notices. A charity assistance denial. Numbers arranged in columns as if shame were just another ledger. Elena's eyes flashed. "Where did you get that?" Victor did not blink. Risk review. If a person introduces evidence during a crisis, motive matters. "Motive?" Min said. "You need money," Victor replied. "Your mother needs treatment. You kept Elena Hart's card for 3 years. Then on the morning she faces removal, you arrive with a flash drive and a story that makes you indispensable." The accusation entered the room like smoke. Nora looked sick. Elena looked at Min, and he hated that he could see the question forming before she asked it. "Did you come here because of the card?" she said. "Or because of the scandal?" "I came because your public incident portal exposed a partial log before Victor's team locked it," Min said. "I recognized the pattern." Victor lifted one eyebrow. "And the card?" Min looked at Elena. "The card got me past fear. Not security." For a moment, something in Elena softened. Then the attorney's tablet chimed. A screenshot showed a message supposedly sent from Min's courier account to an unknown recipient. "If Hart wants the drive before regulators see it, she pays first." Elena went still. Min stared at the words. "I did not send that." Victor's voice was almost kind. "Of course not." Richard pointed toward the door. "Remove him now." Security entered before Elena answered. Min stepped back from the table, not running, not surrendering, just making sure no one touched him first. Nora suddenly stood. "I need to print the chain of custody page," she said. Victor turned. "Sit down." But Nora had already clicked print. One sheet slid out. She picked it up with shaking fingers, crossed the room, and dropped it near Min's helmet as if by accident. Victor saw the movement. So did Min. The guards reached him. Elena finally spoke. "Do not arrest him." Richard snapped. "Elena, not yet," she said. That was not trust. But it was not abandonment either. Min picked up his helmet. As he did, His fingers closed around Nora's page. He did not read it until security moved him into the hall. Then he saw the archived access record. Project Lantern Repository Checkout. User: V. Lane. Date: March 15. Time: 11:48 p.m. One night before Victor had accused him. Behind the glass, Victor watched him read it. And for the first time, Min understood the next attack would not be about hiding the truth. It would be about making sure no one believed the person who found it. Security did not take Min to the lobby. They stopped him in a service corridor behind the executive elevators, where the walls were gray and the ceiling lights buzzed like tired insects. One guard stood near the stairwell. Another held Min's helmet, as if it were evidence. Min kept Nora's page folded inside his palm. Project Lantern Repository Checkout. User: V. Lane. March 15. 11:48 p.m. One night before the accusation that destroyed him. For 3 years, he had imagined proof would feel like air returning to his lungs. Instead, it felt dangerous. Proof did not protect a powerless man. It only made powerful men move faster. The corridor door opened. Elena stepped through alone. No Victor, no Richard, no lawyers. But the guard stayed close enough to hear if voices rose. Elena looked at the folded paper in his hand. "What did Nora give you?" Min did not unfold it. "The first thing in this building that looks like an apology." Elena raised one hand toward the guard. "Give us the corridor." The guard hesitated, then stepped farther away. Elena faced Min again. The controlled CEO expression was back, but it had cracks now. Fatigue under the eyes. Anger held too tightly. Fear refusing to be called fear. "I can keep you out of custody," she said. "But not if you keep moving like a man who answers to no one." Min laughed once. "That is what bothers you? Not the fake message? Not my mother's medical debt on a screen? Not Victor's name on a stolen project? What bothers you is that I do not move when your people tell me to. That is not fair." "No," Min said. "It is accurate." Elena absorbed it. Then she pulled a document from a folder. A consulting agreement. Min looked at the first page without touching it. "Elena, listen before you decide I am insulting you. This gives you legal protection as a temporary technical consultant," she said. "It keeps Victor from calling you an intruder. It covers counsel, witness preparation, and medical support for your mother while this is reviewed." His face changed before he could stop it. Elena saw the weakness land. "She needs treatment," Elena said quietly. "You should not have to choose between helping us and keeping her alive." For one brutal second, the offer became a hospital bill paid before the next dialysis cycle, a phone call that did not begin with an overdue balance. Then Min read the second page. Confidentiality clause. Controlled disclosure. All communications routed through Hartwell Counsel. No independent contact with regulators or press. He closed the folder. There it is. Elena's jaw tightened. It is standard. So was Victor's bridge. The words hit harder than he intended. "This is how institutions survive investigation," Elena said. "No," Min replied. "This is how institutions decide which truths get buried with good paperwork. I am trying to keep you from being destroyed. I have already been destroyed by people who said they were following process." Elena stepped closer. "If Hartwell collapses today, thousands of employees lose jobs. Customers panic. Accounts freeze. Small businesses that did nothing wrong get hurt. You think truth only has one cost because you have only paid yours." Min went still. That was the first thing she had said that did not sound like image control, but it still did not make her right. "And you think silence only has one benefit," he said, "because you have always been the person silence protected." Elena looked as if he had cut her. The corridor door opened again. One of her attorneys leaned in. "Miss Hart, regulators are requesting your statement. Mr. Bale is telling them the board has identified an external interference issue." "External interference." Min smiled without warmth. "That is me. Not if I control the sequence." "You keep saying that. Because sequence matters. So does trust." Elena turned back to the attorney. "Tell them I need 7 minutes." The door closed. She opened a second folder and handed Min a single printed page. "These are the files I can authorize you to review from outside the live system. Board communications are excluded. Executive legal strategy is excluded. Regulator correspondence is excluded." Min scanned the list. "You are giving me the hallway and locking the rooms. I am giving you what I can." "No," he said. "You are giving me what does not scare you." For the first time, Elena's voice rose. Everything scares me. The admission stayed between them. My name is on approvals I never signed. My security chief may be tied to stolen code and shell money. My board is preparing to sell my removal as stability. Regulators are upstairs. The press is waiting. And the only person who has made sense of any of it is a man I met today, who has every reason to hate the system I built. Min did not answer. Elena lowered her voice. So yes, I am afraid, but fear is not the same as guilt. No, Min said, but hiding can become guilt. Her eyes held his. He unfolded Nora's page and gave it to her. She read the checkout record. The color drained from her face. Victor accessed Project Lantern before he accused you. One night before. Elena looked toward the executive floor as if she could see Victor through concrete. Min picked up the consulting agreement and placed it back in her folder. I will help you find the truth, he said, but I will not become another sealed file. Elena held the page Nora had printed. For once, she did not argue. Then her phone rang. She answered, listened, and went still. When she lowered it, her voice was quiet. Victor just told regulators you attempted to sell me evidence. Min looked toward the stairwell. The next trap had already opened. Elena did not have 7 minutes. The regulators wanted her upstairs. Richard wanted her in front of the board. Victor had already given them a clean word for Min: extortion. So she did what powerful people did when time became dangerous. She separated the problem. You stay here, she told Min. Do not speak to anyone. Do not touch anything. I will handle the regulators first. Min looked at the phone in her hand. Victor is already handling them. I know. Then you do not have time to handle this slowly. Elena's eyes sharpened. And you do not have authority to handle it at all. The words landed badly. Both of them knew it. She left before either could repair it. The service corridor door closed, and for a moment Min stood alone with 2 guards, a folded proof in his palm, and the sick feeling that truth was being moved somewhere he would never reach again. Then Nora appeared at the far end of the corridor. She was carrying a box of printer cartridges, but her face told him the box was only a reason to be there. Victor ordered the temporary audit workspace sealed. Copied, she whispered as she passed him. All copied reports go through security review before regulators see them. Min's stomach tightened. Security review means Victor. Nora did not stop walking. There is a printer queue cache in the read-only room. It holds stamped copies for 15 minutes before purge. A guard looked their way. Nora raised her voice. Wrong floor. Sorry. She walked past and disappeared into the service stairwell. Min stood still. 15 minutes. That was not much time. But it was more than he had been given 3 years ago. He looked at the guard holding his helmet. I need the restroom. The guard sighed. Of course you do. They escorted him down the corridor, past the restroom, past the supply alcove, and toward the same hallway that led to the read-only audit room. Min did not run. Running made innocent men look guilty. He waited until one guard answered his radio, then stepped into the alcove and pulled the emergency cleaning cart just far enough to block the camera's lower angle. He had no badge, no terminal access, no live system. But the audit room printer had a side panel. And printer caches, like people, often remembered what institutions wanted forgotten. He opened the panel with the edge of a broken keyring. Not elegant, not legal maybe, but neither was letting Victor become the custodian of evidence against Victor. The cache screen blinked awake. Last jobs. Read-only export. Hash detail. Vendor map. Repository access record. Min inserted the small blank drive he kept for courier invoices. He copied only the stamped PDFs. No database. No client accounts. No live access. A chained packet. Enough to prove what had already been printed. Not enough to steal the bank. He heard footsteps before the transfer finished. Hey. The guard grabbed his shoulder and spun him back. The drive fell into Min's hand, warm from the port. Victor arrived less than 30 seconds later. Too fast. As if he had been waiting for the camera to see exactly enough. Well, Victor said softly, that answers several questions. Min closed his fist around the drive. These are stamped copies. Your system already printed them. You bypassed a secured audit device during a regulatory event. To preserve evidence from your review. Victor smiled. My review? The second guard pulled Min's arm behind his back. Min did not fight. He looked only at the ceiling camera. It was pointed directly at the printer panel. Perfectly. By the time Elena returned, The footage was already on the crisis room screen. It showed Min blocking the camera with the cleaning cart. It showed him opening the printer panel. It showed the drive in his hand. It did not show Nora. It did not show the order to route evidence through Victor. It did not show why a man with no power might try to keep one copy alive. Richard stood beside the screen, furious. You brought a data thief into our investigation. Victor added the final piece. The fake courier message appeared beneath the footage. If Hart wants the drive before regulators see it, she pays first. Elena looked at Min. This time, doubt was not hidden behind strategy. It was naked. Tell me, you did not do this. I copied stamped audit packets, Min said. Not client data, not live files, evidence. You did it after I told you not to touch anything. Because you left the evidence with the man accused by the evidence. Victor gave a quiet laugh. Listen to him. Every violation becomes courage when he says it. Elena stepped closer. Did you lie to me? The question hit harder than the guard's grip. Min looked at her, then at the screen, then at the resignation letter still lying on a side table, waiting like a patient weapon. No, he said. But you were waiting for me to. Elena flinched. For a second, he regretted saying it. Then Richard said, Enough. Security removes him now. Full access review. Police standby. Elena did not stop it this time. She only said, Do not arrest him in front of regulators. It was mercy-shaped, like distance. The guards took Min toward the service elevators. As he passed Nora's desk, he dropped the warm drive into the open cartridge box without looking at her. Nora did not move. Victor's eyes followed Min, not the box. That was the only reason it worked. At the elevator, Min turned back once. Elena stood beside the screen, the edited footage glowing across her face. She looked like a woman watching two truths fight and not knowing which one would destroy her first. The elevator doors closed. Inside the crisis room, Victor gave Nora a new instruction. Wipe the temporary audit workspace. Nora looked up. All of it? Victor's smile returned. Especially the printer queue. Victor did not need to shout after Min was removed. He only needed access. Inside the crisis room, he moved with the calm of a man cleaning up a spill before guests arrived. The regulators were upstairs with Elena. Richard was telling the board that the bank had contained an attempted evidence breach. Nora sat at the audit terminal with her hands folded tightly in her lap. Victor placed a statement in front of her. Sign it. Nora read the first line. I confirm that Min Tran directed me to generate reports outside approved regulatory protocol. Her throat closed. That is not what happened. Victor leaned one hand on the table. What happened is irrelevant if you cannot survive the version that will be written. She looked toward the cartridge box beneath her desk. The drive Min had dropped there was still hidden under toner plastic. Victor followed her eyes, but not far enough. You are young, he said. Your career can recover from confusion. It will not recover from obstruction. On the wall screen, the old audit workspace went dark. Nora whispered, You wiped it. I preserved a clean environment. Then, a new report appeared. The replacement logs were perfect. No 17-second lag, no Daniel Reese active key, no green ping anomaly, no lane strategic risk payment path. The shell vendors remained, but the chain now ended before anything touched Victor. Nora stared at the screen. Clean logs were more terrifying than dirty ones. Dirty logs showed where someone had touched the truth. Clean logs pretended no one had touched it at all. Victor opened another file. Flash drive contamination event. Source user. Unknown external device. Associated individual. Min Tran. Nora's breath shook. You are putting it on his drive. No, Victor said. He did that when he opened a secured printer panel during a regulatory event. Upstairs, Elena watched a different version of the same report. Victor had sent it before anyone could challenge the chain. The regulators sat across from her in the North Conference Suite. Richard stood behind them. The resignation letter had returned, now inside a blue folder labeled Continuity Option. Elena, Richard said quietly, this is over. We can frame your resignation as voluntary cooperation. Elena looked at the clean logs. They were exactly what she had wanted 6 hours ago. Simple, contained, survivable, and wrong. But wrong was harder to prove now. Outside the building, Min stood under the concrete overhang near the service entrance. The rain had thinned to mist. His courier app kept buzzing with missed orders, each one a small reminder that survival had not paused because truth had become urgent. Then his phone rang. The clinic. A woman from billing spoke carefully, too carefully. There had been a review of Grace Tran's assistance status. A hold had been placed until updated income documentation could be provided. Treatment would continue today, but future scheduling might be affected. Min listened without moving. Victor had found the softest place to press. When the call ended, Min almost walked away. Not because he believed Victor, because his mother had a body, and Truth did not. Truth did not need dialysis. Truth did not wake up cold. Truth did not count pills in a plastic cup and pretend not to be afraid. Then he remembered what Grace had said. Do not let gratitude become a leash. She had not told him to protect Elena. She had told him to remain free. Min opened his courier app and pulled his own route history. Hartwell's internal logs could be cleaned, but the city had watched him move. GPS pings, lobby scan, elevator release, delivery confirmation, cafeteria payment terminal from the coffee order placed 2 minutes before the suspicious spike, badge printer activity from the security floor. Small clocks, scattered clocks, clocks Victor did not own. He called the only person inside who might still answer. Nora picked up on the second ring but said nothing. Do not talk, Min said. Just listen. Did he wipe the audit room? A pause. Yes, she whispered. Did he produce clean logs? Another pause. Yes. Did the clean version keep Daniel Rees remote? Nora's silence changed. No, she said. It removed Rees entirely. That is too clean. I know. Look for physical workstation records outside the audit workspace. Badge printer, maintenance access, basement network inventory. Anything old enough that Victor would forget it exists. I cannot access. You can search file names without opening restricted content. Nora breathed once, then began typing. Min walked away from the service entrance and around the side of Hartwell's tower. He knew buildings from deliveries. Not the official routes, but the tired ones. Loading docks, staff doors, freight elevators, places where expensive architecture admitted it still needed pipes and trash removal. Nora whispered again. There is an inventory index. Disaster recovery assets. Last updated 8 years ago. Search SEC 17. Keys clicked. No sec 17. Search Daniel Rees. A longer pause. Then Nora said, there is a local backup terminal assigned to D. Rees. Basement level 3. Disaster recovery room B3-19. Min stopped walking. Is it active? It should not be. The room was decommissioned when Hartwell moved cloud failover. Was it accessed recently? Nora's voice became very small. Last night. 11:43 p.m. Min looked up at the tower. Victor had not reactivated a dead man from the security floor. He had used the security floor to point everyone away from the basement. Can you see who opened B3-19? Maintenance badge override. No name. But there is a badge printer record from yesterday. Temporary badge created for facilities inspection. By whom? Nora did not answer. Then she said, Victor Lane. A side door opened 20 feet away. 2 security guards stepped out, scanning the service lane. Min moved behind a delivery truck. Nora whispered, he is sending security outside. Then he knows I'm looking. What are you going to do? Min looked at the loading dock ramp leading down into the building's lower levels. For the first time all day, the answer felt simple. What I should have done 3 years ago. What? Get to the original before he rewrites it. He ended the call. A catering crew was unloading lunch for the regulators. Min pulled his hood low, lifted a stack of sealed meal trays, and walked with them through the service entrance. No badge, no title, no permission, just a man the building had already decided not to see. The freight elevator smelled of onions, metal, and wet cardboard. Min stood behind the catering cart while a facilities worker pressed B3. As the elevator descended, his phone buzzed once. A message from Nora. B3-19 has a local backup unit. If it still runs, it may have last night's raw reauth logs. Then a second message. Victor just left the North Conference Suite. Min watched the floor numbers drop. B2. B3. The doors opened to a concrete corridor lined with old server cages and yellow emergency lights. At the far end, a red sign read, Disaster Recovery Room, B3-19. Authorized personnel, only. The handle was scratched, freshly. Behind him, the freight elevator doors began to close. Somewhere above, Victor was coming down. The disaster recovery room smelled like dust, warm plastic, and old fear. Min pushed the scratched door open with his shoulder. Inside, yellow emergency lights flickered over dead server racks and cable trays no one had cleaned in years. Most of the machines were dark. One terminal in the corner was not. A small green light blinked beneath a label faded almost white. Local Backup Unit B, 3-19. Assigned D. Rees. Min crossed the room and touched the keyboard. The screen woke slowly, as if dragged out of sleep. Raw logs appeared. Not summaries. Not cleaned reports. Not the polished version Victor had already sent upstairs. Raw reauthorization records. Min found the entry. 11:43 p.m. Temp Facilities Badge, created by V. Lane. Room access. B. 3-19. Local session. D. Rees. Key restore. Export target. Sec. 17 bridge. For 1 second, Min did not breathe. There it was. The dead man had not haunted Hartwell's system. Victor had brought him back. Footsteps sounded in the corridor. Min pulled out his phone and recorded the screen. Then he inserted the courier invoice drive he had used before, not to take the whole system, only to copy the raw access page and the local backup seal. The transfer bar crawled. 30%. 40. The footsteps stopped outside. Min. Victor's voice. Not loud. Not angry. Almost disappointed. You should have stayed outside. Min did not turn around. You should have deleted the basement. The transfer reached 100%. Victor stepped into the doorway. Behind him stood 2 security guards, but neither moved first. The room was too narrow, the equipment too old, the evidence too visible. Victor looked at the screen. For the first time, his calm failed completely. That file is not admissible, he said. Min removed the drive. You have said that about every truth before anyone else gets to read it. Victor took 1 step forward. Min lifted his phone. I am streaming this to Nora. Victor stopped. Above them, in the emergency boardroom, Elena Hart was being asked to surrender. The regulators sat on one side of the table. Richard Bale stood near the screen. The resignation folder lay open in front of Elena. The clean logs projected behind her like a verdict already typed. Victor's report had done its work. The altered records were gone. Min's flash drive was listed as contamination. Daniel Rees did not exist in the active chain. Lane's strategic risk did not appear in the final vendor map. Everything looked survivable if Elena signed. Richard leaned close. You can still protect the institution. Elena looked at the signature line. For most of her life, control had felt like intelligence. Control of language, control of sequence, control of damage. But now every controlled document in the room pointed away from truth. The boardroom door opened. Nora Chen stepped in. She was pale, holding a cartridge box against her chest. Victor was not with her. Richard snapped. This meeting is closed. Nora looked at Elena, not him. I did not wipe the printer queue. The room changed. Elena stood. Nora placed the cartridge box on the table and pulled out Min's hidden drive. Victor entered seconds later with security behind him. Stop her, he said. No one moved fast enough. Nora plugged the drive into the presentation terminal. One of the regulators rose, alarmed. Elena said, let it display. Richard grabbed the edge of the table. Elena, this is insane. No, she said. Insane was letting one man decide which evidence was clean. The screen changed. Stamped audit packets appeared first. Vendor maps. Override hash details. The lantern before dawn diagnostic comment. The repository checkout record from March 15, 11:48 p.m. Then the live video Min had sent from B3-19 filled the wall. Victor's face appeared in the doorway of the basement room. Then, the raw access log. Temp Facilities Badge created by V. Lane. Room access. B3-19. Local session. D. Rees. Key restore. Export target. Sec. 17 bridge. One regulator read the line aloud. Victor spoke immediately. This is compromised material generated by an accused extortionist who illegally accessed bank infrastructure. Min's voice came through the room speakers from Nora's phone. Then explain why the local backup seal predates my arrival at Hartwell today. Nora projected the seal metadata. Local backup sealed. 11:59 p.m. previous night. Hash lock. System automated. External device access. None until 9:42 a.m. The regulator looked at Victor. Mr. Lane? Victor's expression hardened. A local seal can be spoofed. Min entered the boardroom then, escorted by the same maintenance supervisor who had unlocked the disaster recovery corridor for regulators on the way up. His jacket was dusty now. His face was tired, but his hand was steady around the printed raw log. The seal can be spoofed, Min said, but not by me before I entered the building. He placed the page on the table. The badge printer created a temporary facilities badge for Victor last night. The basement room restored Daniel Reese's dead key. SEC 17 received the restored route. The clean logs removed Reese entirely after I was caught with the printer cache. That is not contamination. That is cleanup. Victor pointed at him. You planted your own code signature inside the module. Min looked at Elena. This time, she did not look away. Nora opened the compile metadata. Module compiled 18 months ago, she said, before Mr. Tran had any known contact with Hartwell Systems. Min added, and before Elena ever saw me again. The regulator turned to Victor. Why was a private consultancy named Lane Strategic Risk receiving advisory payments downstream from North River Recovery? Victor's mouth opened. No answer came. Richard slowly stepped back from him. The room that had once laughed at Min's jacket now watched Victor's silence, as if silence itself had become evidence. Victor tried one last time. Elena, if this goes public, Hartwell collapses. Elena looked at the resignation letter, then at Min, then at the regulators. No, she said. Hartwell collapses if we survive by lying. She closed the folder without signing. Then she turned to the regulators. Hartwell Digital Bank will cooperate fully. You will receive every raw log, every internal bridge record, every vendor map, and every communication involving Lane Strategic Risk. Victor's face twisted. You are destroying your own bank. I am removing the thing that was destroying it. She looked at security. Revoke Victor Lane's access. Now. For a moment, no one breathed. Then one of the regulators nodded. Security moved. Victor did not struggle. He only looked at Min as they took his badge. You should have stayed invisible, he said. Min held his gaze. You already made me invisible once. That was your mistake. Victor's eyes narrowed. Min stepped closer, his voice quiet enough that the room leaned in to hear him. You thought invisible people stopped seeing. The sentence landed harder than shouting. Elena looked at Min then, not as a courier, not as a liability, not as a man she had once saved in the rain, as the person who had seen what her entire institution refused to see. Outside the boardroom, cameras waited. Inside it, the first true record of the morning was finally being written. 3 weeks later, Hartwell Digital Bank held a press conference without music, banners, or celebration. Elena insisted on that. There would be no stage designed to look victorious, no soft lighting, no heroic language about resilience. Just a row of microphones, a wall of cameras, and a public record corrected in the same city that had almost watched the wrong person fall. Min stood near the side of the room in a borrowed suit that did not quite fit his shoulders. Grace Tran watched from a hospital bed on a tablet propped against a water pitcher. A nurse had helped her adjust the volume twice. She kept one hand over her mouth, as if the smallest sound might disturb what she had waited 3 years to hear. Elena stepped to the microphones. 3 weeks ago, she said, Hartwell Digital Bank nearly allowed a lie to become our official history. That lie placed blame on innocent people, protected the person responsible, and buried the work of a man this institution should have listened to sooner. Camera shutters clicked. Victor Lane's name had already been turned over to prosecutors. North River Recovery had been frozen. Lane Strategic Risk had lost its license before the week ended. But Elena did not list those outcomes like trophies. She looked down at the page in front of her. The university disciplinary record against Min Tran has been formally withdrawn. The accusation of code theft has been vacated. The original authorship of Project Lantern has been restored to him. Min did not move. For 3 years, he had imagined vindication as something loud. Applause, anger, a door kicked open. Instead, it arrived as a sentence read into a microphone by someone who had once almost doubted him enough to lose him. Elena turned from the cameras and faced him directly. Mr. Tran, she said, what do you want entered into Hartwell's permanent record? The room waited. Min thought of money first, because poverty trained the mind that way. His mother's bills, lost tuition, lost housing, 3 years of nights riding through rain for tips that disappeared before morning. Then he thought of the university report with its clean font and dirty lie. He stepped to the microphone. "My name," he said. Nothing more. Grace began to cry. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just one hand pressed to her mouth, her shoulders shaking under the hospital blanket. Because the world had called her son a thief in official language, and now official language had to call him by his name. The second scene happened 2 days later, in Elena's office. It was not the same office she had occupied before the scandal. The old one had felt like a museum of control. Glass, steel, awards, silent furniture. This one was smaller, temporary, still smelling faintly of fresh paint and cardboard boxes. Regulators occupied half the executive floor now. Every department was under review. Hartwell had survived the first market panic, but not untouched. Elena did not pretend otherwise. Min arrived carrying a folder of proposed changes for the new Ethical Systems Review Division. The title still made him uncomfortable. He had agreed to lead it only after Elena signed a charter making the division independent from executive interference. No sealed findings. No private retaliation files. No security review controlled by one office. No whistleblower settlement that erased the person who spoke. Nora would lead compliance transparency. Building operations would preserve external audit anchors. Every critical override would require an independent clock outside the banking system. Elena read the charter without defending the old structure once. Then she opened a drawer. Inside was the business card. The old one, softened at the edges, ink faded, the sentence still visible. "Don't let one bad day decide your whole life." "I had it framed," Elena said. Min looked at it beneath the glass. For years, he had kept the card because it reminded him that someone had once stopped, not rescued him completely, not changed his life with a miracle, just stopped long enough to prove the world had not become all teeth. Elena pushed the frame toward him. "It belongs to you." Min picked it up, then set it back on her desk. "No," he said. "It belongs here now." Elena frowned slightly. "I do not understand." "You gave it to me when I needed to survive one bad day," Min said. "But you need it for the days when survival looks easier than truth." Elena looked at the card for a long time. There were apologies money could not make. There were repairs statements could not finish. She knew that now. Min was not there because she had saved him once. He was there because he had chosen not to let her become another person who buried him politely. She placed the framed card beside the signed charter, not as decoration, as a warning. The final scene came on a rainy Thursday night. Hartwell's front entrance was no longer surrounded by news vans. The cameras had moved on to louder disasters. The lobby still smelled expensive, but it no longer felt untouchable. Near the reception desk, a new sign directed contractors, couriers, and service workers to the same complaint and reporting office as full-time staff. Min noticed it every time he passed. He had stayed late reviewing the first batch of independent override alerts. Nora had sent him 3 messages about false positives, 2 about missing vendor documentation, and 1 photo of her new desk with the caption, "No one has told me to stop looking yet." That made him smile. Outside, rain hit the pavement in silver bursts. As Min stepped under the awning, he saw a young courier kneeling beside a broken electric bike near the curb. One wheel had bent against the frame. A delivery bag lay open, soup leaking slowly into the gutter. People walked around him with the practiced blindness of a city protecting its schedule. The courier tried to lift the bike, failed, and cursed under his breath. Min stood still. For a moment the past folded over the present. Broken headlight, cold rain, blood on a wrist, luxury cars passing as if pain were bad weather. Then Min walked down the steps. "You hurt?" he asked. The courier looked up, startled. "I'm fine. I just need to finish these orders." "No," Min said. "First you need to stop bleeding." The courier looked at his own hand and seemed surprised by the cut across his knuckles. Min called for the lobby first aid kit, then helped move the bike under the awning. A security guard came out, saw Min, and did not ask whether the courier belonged there. That mattered. Small things mattered when repeated by people with power. Min paid for the repair pickup from his phone. The courier tried to refuse. "I can't pay you back." Min took a new business card from his pocket. It had his name on it now. Not a borrowed title. Not a corrected apology. His name. On the back, he wrote 1 sentence. "Don't let one bad day decide your whole life." He handed it to the courier. The young man stared at it, confused by kindness he had not earned and therefore did not trust yet. Min understood. Behind them, high above the wet street, the lights of Hartwell Digital Bank glowed through the rain. Once, that tower had been a place where invisible people delivered food and disappeared. Now, somewhere inside, a record existed that said one of those invisible people had changed the system because he refused to stop seeing. Min picked up the courier's fallen delivery bag and smiled. "Come on," he said. "Let's get you out of the rain."